This debate today, it's about who gets to be an American. What opinions do we have to be counted as Americans? This is what this debate is about, Madam Speaker. There is this idea that you are a suspect if you are an immigrant, or if you are from certain parts of the world, or a certain skin tone, or a Muslim. It is no accident that members of the Republican Party accused the first Black president, Barack Obama, of being a secret Muslim. It is no accident that former President Donald Trump led a birther movement.
Those rules, structured rules. And the ranking member could scoff. We've had X number of votes. We'll have continued debate about this stuff over time. There will be closed rules. There will be structured rules. There will be open rules.
Diversion tactics that we would like, it doesn't change the fact that someone broke the law and that someone should be held accountable. It is disappointing, Mr. Speaker, that
Chip Roy and Lisa McClain took on Ilhan Omar in a fiery congressional hearing, and what happened next left the room stunned. Watch as these two Republican leaders stand up for America, dismantle the radical left's narrative, and remind everyone what real leadership looks like. Subscribe to Illuminate for more unfiltered political analysis, truth-telling commentary, and patriotic insight the media refuses to share.
Gentleman from Texas recognized.
Appreciate the chairman. I do associate myself with the remarks of the gentleman from Kentucky, but also the gentleman from South Carolina, the gentleman from Pennsylvania, the gentlelady, all the remarks that we've been talking about over here. And I appreciate the spirit of the remarks from the gentleman from Colorado. Would note that we're here for a very obvious reason. The door was opened, and now we're dealing with that. And the door shouldn't have been opened. I'm reminded when I was in the Senate Judiciary Committee in 2005, and Miguel Estrada was being filibustered by the Democrat majority at the time. And we know why. We know this because a memo that said very specifically that he was being filibustered because he was an Hispanic conservative was found, but then shoved aside. We couldn't talk about it because it was found on a server, and they said, we shouldn't get it. There's a whole lot of backstory on that. But there was a lot of drama around that. There were 7 judges being held up: Priscilla Owen, Janice Rogers Brown, because she's black. That was all happening. We just sweep that aside. And you fast forward, and Bill Frist was being pressured to deploy the nuclear option. I remember being part of all those conversations, the Senate lawyer and the Judiciary Committee. Bill Frist decided not to deploy the nuclear option. In 2013, Harry Reid did deploy the nuclear option. 2017, then certain things changed at the United States Supreme Court. So now we live in that world. It is what it is. Now here we sit. The door was opened. I just went back and reread my speech on the floor because the gentleman, I hadn't done that yet. I went back and reread my speech on the floor. Not stand by every word of that speech. And in it, I referenced the fact that I had just a few months prior had been in agreement with some of my colleagues on the other side of the aisle with respect to January 6th, which there's disagreements on our side of the aisle on some of that with respect to the votes at the time. And that I'd taken very strong disagreement and sought apology from our colleague on our side of the aisle about some of the remarks that were said, but felt that this was not the right path to go down. I stand by that. So here we sit. I could associate myself and do with all the remarks of the gentleman from South Carolina. I have very strong disagreement with a lot of the statements that Representative Omar has made. We've covered most of them. That some people did something is the one that really sticks in my craw pretty strongly. Raises a whole lot of flags for me. I think there are significant amount of justifications to raise issues with respect to service on the Foreign Affairs Committee, but I would not go down this road. But I'm also reminded, in August of 1993, Juan Gonzalez was a batter for the Texas Rangers and was plunked by Alex Fernandez from the White Sox. And just a little bit later, Robin Ventura came to the plate for the White Sox, and Nolan Ryan was on the mound. And Robin knew what was about to happen. Nolan plunked him. And then Robin Ventura charged the mound, and then Nolan Ryan beat the crud out of him on the mound. That's what happened. We all know that's what happened. Old school baseball. Nolan Ryan defined old school baseball. This is raw politics. That's what this is. When the doors opened, then there's a question. You have to decide what you're going to do. We're not going to unilaterally disarm. Just not going to do it. I'm tired of that. It just is what it is. Guys took a shot at someone on our team, about statements I disagreed with and took very much to task. But I've got strong disagreements with Representative Omar. I would prefer, if it were just starting from scratch, I would not choose this path. I'd just say whatever stuff you all want to say. We'll say whatever stuff we want to say. Our managers will pick our team. Let's go battle it out in committee. That's what I would say. I would say that's the right place to be. But at this point in time, it is my considered judgment that, like Nolan Ryan, we've got to respond. And I'm just going to be blunt and honest about it. That's just my belief. I think it's important. And I hope we'll get through this. We'll kind of hip check each other. Maybe we can sit down and figure out by the end of this Congress, next Congress, whoever's in charge, we figure out how we're going to play ball going forward and set those rules. And I would say the same thing about open rules, closed rules, structured rules. And the ranking member could scoff. We've had X number of votes. We'll have continued debate about this stuff over time. There will be closed rules. There will be structured rules. There will be open rules.
Gentleman reserves. Gentlelady from Michigan is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And to use that logic, well, then all those people should have just said sorry and we'd move on, right? But no, we don't do that. And let me tell you, I take a little bit of offense to what the hell is wrong with me. I'll tell you, there's nothing wrong with me. I took an oath to defend the Constitution, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. Again, I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm going to hold the Constitution, and it's very simple. We really shouldn't even have this debate. If you break the law and you follow due process, there are consequences to your actions, even if you say sorry. So we can try all of the diversion tactics that we would like. It doesn't change the fact that someone broke the law and that someone should be held accountable. It is disappointing, Mr. Speaker, that their own party can't hold them accountable, that they have such hypocrisy. So with that, I yield 2 minutes to my friend from New York, Nicole Meliatakis.
Gentlelady is recognized for 2 minutes.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Illuminate, Patriots, the channel where we don't just watch the news, we expose the truth behind it. If you love this country, if you still believe in common sense, freedom, and the values that build America, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and turn on notifications. Because here, we pull no punches, and we shine a light on the stories the mainstream media hides in the shadows. Now, let's talk about what just happened on Capitol Hill. Representatives Chip Roy and Lisa McClain just unleashed a truth storm in Congress. And the target? Ilhan Omar. What unfolded was one of the most tense and revealing exchanges we've seen in a long time, the kind of clash that exposes everything wrong with Washington right now. And folks, I'll be honest, it was long overdue. Let's start with Chip Roy. This man doesn't sugarcoat anything. When he speaks, you can feel the frustration that so many Americans share. Frustration with the double standards, the hypocrisy, and the constant attacks on our values by people who claim to represent us. Roy didn't come to play politics. He came to defend the principles this country was built on: liberty, accountability, and the truth. In this hearing, Ilhan Omar tried to twist the narrative like she always does, painting America as the villain, accusing Republicans of hate and lecturing everyone about morality, while ignoring her own record of controversial statements and questionable alliances. But Roy wasn't buying it. He called out her hypocrisy head-on, reminding everyone that loving your country doesn't make you hateful, and criticizing policies that weaken America doesn't make you a bigot, it makes you a patriot. And then Lisa McClain took the floor. Calm, controlled, sharp as a knife. You could tell she came prepared. She listened to Omar's speech, the same tired talking points about systemic this and that, and then she dismantled it piece by piece. McClain reminded the room that leadership isn't about victimhood. It's about responsibility. It's about standing for the truth even when it's unpopular. She asked the hard questions Omar didn't want to answer. Questions that cut straight to the heart of what's wrong with modern politics. Why do some members of Congress spend more time condemning America than defending it? And that's when the tone shifted. You could see the tension. Omar tried to pivot, tried to pull the usual emotional defense, but McClain didn't flinch. She stood her ground, and in that moment, the contrast between them was crystal clear. One was speaking from conviction, the other was hiding behind rhetoric. It wasn't just a hearing anymore, it was a wake-up call. What this exchange really showed is something bigger than just three politicians sparring. It showed that there are still people in Washington willing to fight back against the narrative that America is the problem.